Today, the Virginia State Supreme Court struck down the congressional redistricting approved by Virginia voters 17 days ago. It is a big blow to democracy as voters there opted for this new map, but it's also a blow to the Democratic Party ahead of the 2026 midterms as they seek to counter the GOP efforts to gerrymander themselves in a victory at the behest of Donald Trump. In a statement, Virginia's Attorney General Jay Jones said this, quote, "Today, the Supreme Court of Virginia has chosen to put politics over the rule of law. This decision silences the voices of the millions of Virginians who cast their ballots in every corner of the Commonwealth. And it fuels the growing fears across our nation about the state of our democracy. My team is carefully reviewing this unprecedented order, and we are evaluating every legal pathway forward to defend the will of the people and protect the integrity of Virginia's elections." As California Governor Gavin Newsom put it on social media, quote, "No vote in Tennessee, plus 1 GOP seat. No vote in Florida, plus 4 GOP seats. No vote in Missouri, plus 1 GOP seat. No vote in North Carolina, plus 2 GOP seats. No vote in Texas, plus 5 GOP seats. Virginia's voter-approved maps thrown out. MAGA has rigged the system."
This state has legislated and legalized the worst things in humanity, including our enslavement, and we are still here. Right in this country where, as one black woman said, your ancestors enslaved us, denied us of our rights, called us 3/5 of a person, and yet we are still here. You put us on cotton plantations and tobacco plantations. You denied our human rights and our right to exist as children of God, and we are still here. You destroyed Tulsa. You killed and lynched black folks on poplar trees. Shelby County, Tennessee had the most lynchings of anywhere in this state where you're taking this district, and we are still here. You've had 3 strikes laws, mass incarceration, denied us of who we are, and we are still here. And today you'll take the only majority black district from us. But I want you to know, and I want my nephew, sons, and the future to know, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try and break us and make us bend and make us quit, we will still be here.
On Thursday, Tennessee's governor signed into law a congressional map. It's hard to see that these two maps look the same. Look at the one on the left, look at the bottom left corner, the little blue thing, and look at the one on the right. This new congressional map eliminates the only majority black district in the entire state, which is the Democratic-held district surrounding Memphis. You can see how they did it on this map. They took the 9th congressional district, which included Memphis and its surrounding area, and split it into 3 different districts. In gerrymandering speak, that's what's known as cracking. You take a concentrated population of voters and you crack the block into separate districts, diluting the voting power of that group. Every eligible voter in Memphis will get to vote this November, but their vote will mean less by design. Yesterday, a legislative committee met in Louisiana to discuss a new map which would eliminate one of 2 majority black districts in that state.
Tonight, the battle over redistricting isn't happening in the shadows. It's happening in courtrooms, state houses, and live on television. In Virginia, voters approved a new congressional map, and then the state's highest court struck it down. In Tennessee, lawmakers pushed through a new map that critics say dismantles the state's only majority black congressional district. And across several southern states, civil rights groups are warning that what looks like a technical fight over lines on a map is really a fight over political power, representation, and whether democracy still means the voters get the last word. What makes the Virginia ruling so explosive is not just who benefits politically. It's the image it creates. Voters went to the polls, millions cast ballots, and the result was later invalidated on procedural grounds. PBS reported that the court found Democrats had violated the amendment process because the proposal moved forward while early voting was already underway, meaning it was not passed before the required legislative election window. Supporters of the ruling call that a constitutional safeguard. Critics call it something else entirely. A court stepping in after the people had already spoken. That tension between legal procedure and democratic legitimacy is what turns this from a state political story into a national warning sign.
Now, this is a major setback for Democrats because they were counting on Virginia to counteract what Republicans have done in Texas and Florida and elsewhere. And Virginia Democrats embarked on this effort to pass a constitutional amendment to permit the legislature to pass a Democratic gerrymander just a couple days before last fall's legislative elections. Under Virginia's constitution, the General Assembly has to pass a constitutional amendment not just once, but twice, once before a regularly scheduled legislative election and once after, and then send the question to voters. Democrats went through those steps, but the Virginia Supreme Court, in this case, they found that Democrats had violated the procedure by embarking on this while early voting was already underway, and therefore not before the regularly scheduled election.
But Virginia is only one front in a much larger war. Reuters reported that after the U.S. Supreme Court weakened Voting Rights Act protections, Republican governors in Alabama, South Carolina, and Tennessee moved quickly to pursue new congressional maps. In Louisiana, the governor paused a primary so lawmakers could consider a new map. In Tennessee, Republicans advanced a plan that opponents say effectively wipes out the state's only majority-black congressional district by carving Memphis into multiple pieces. What emerges is a pattern. State by state, the rules are shifting fast, often faster than voters, candidates, or even election administrators can absorb.
I want to know if the President of the United States putting his thumb on the scale is enough to stop us in our pursuit of justice, but we've got another word, no. They want to know if racist Governor Bill Lee, Grand Wizard Cameron Sexton, and the Grand Wizard Lieutenant Governor Rand McNally's decision to crack our district is enough to put us into the soft pillow of apathy. And our answer is no. They want to know if they can separate us by race, by class, by gender, by identity, and that would stop us from building this solidarity dividend and this movement. But our answer to them is no. They are asking if Memphis is ready to quit, if Memphis is going to bow down, if Memphis is going to break, is Memphis going to bend now? And our answer is no. No, we are not, because we do believe the words that were written on that parchment of paper were not just for pontification, but for a true actualization. So we do hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Oh, I think you're muted. There you go.
Thank you. What we experienced and what we saw yesterday in the state of Tennessee was a political lynching. It is very much an era of retribution that we are entering into in the United States of America across the South, where 12 to 20 United States House seats that are black majority are at risk of being taken away, and nearly 200 seats for state House members and state Senate members are likely to be taken away by the rise of white supremacy and its attempt to solidify its power on behalf of the biggest white supremacist in the United States of America, which is the President of the United States. I was expelled, and my other black colleague was expelled from the Tennessee General Assembly, standing up against gun violence, while our white colleague was not. That's not accidental or coincidental. This is a part of who the Tennessee General Assembly is. Congress. That is the arc that we understand as a people, that we have persevered through everything that has been thrown at us, from enslavement to lynching, from the burning of Tulsa to the Memphis massacre, from mass incarceration to now the removal in mass of black political power through congressional seats. We have persevered, and that perseverance does scare them. It worries a lot of people. It worries, the biggest worry of white supremacy, because they've tried everything to destroy us. They've tried everything to break us, and it does not work. We continue to persist. We continue to fight back. We can continue to build power. And in this moment in time, that is what we are seeing, a mass mobilization of people, unlike anything that we've seen recently, at least in Tennessee history, but likely across the South, to organize, to mobilize, to activate, to register more voters, but then to make sure they get to the polls. They've broken up all these districts thinking that we're not going to be able to compete in them, but we are, and we're going to win. And so what the devil means for bad, God's going to turn into good. But I do know that the history of our ancestors is our encouragement.
Tennessee may be the most visually dramatic example of what critics call modern map warfare. The argument from state Republicans is blunt. They are maximizing partisan advantage. But opponents say that explanation doesn't erase what the map actually does. It takes Memphis, a heavily black city with a long political identity of its own, and fractures it across multiple districts. In redistricting language, that tactic is called cracking, splitting a concentrated voting bloc so its political influence is diluted. The result is that people can still vote, but their community may lose the power to elect a candidate of its choice or to command meaningful attention from whoever wins. That's why this debate is so much bigger than one seat. It's about whether representation is merely formal, a ballot cast, or real.
Two Tennessee leaders and the president all pushing one political plan: flip Tennessee's only Democratic congressional district to Republican.
And it seems like that could become a reality. Governor Bill Lee has officially called a special session, bringing all of Tennessee's legislators back to Nashville.
Our investigative reporter Ben Hall is with us now. Ben has been in contact with state lawmakers all day about the potential of this happening, and now it's here. What do you know, Ben?
Well, there were rumors all day. Late this afternoon, the governor officially called a special session. Lawmakers just left town, but they are coming back on Tuesday of next week for the special session. Now, Senator Blackburn proposed this map on her social media. You see, all the congressional districts are red. We don't know the exact details of the proposed changes in this special session. Now, this all comes after Wednesday's Supreme Court decision. It cleared the way for Louisiana to redraw its congressional map, ruling its previous map relied too heavily on race. The decision sent states scrambling to redraw their congressional districts. Now, reaction is pouring in from Tennessee Republicans. Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally saying, in part, "We are at a historic moment that demands bold action. Tennessee now has the opportunity to send another Republican voice to Washington, and we intend to seize it." But Democrats say the Supreme Court's decision that led to all of this is a troubling step backwards that will silence black voters. I spoke with Democratic Representative Justin J. Pearson, who is running for Congress in the Memphis district that might be eliminated.
We're knocking doors, we're reaching out to people, we're fighting to defend our district and to keep it so that we can continue to have representation.
State Representative Justin J. Pearson may be best known for getting expelled from the Tennessee legislature 3 years ago for protesting against gun violence after the Covenant School shooting. Pearson's Memphis district quickly sent him back to the legislature. Now he's running for Congress, but he is concerned that his congressional district may be eliminated.
This is another attempt to silence our voice, to destroy and disrupt our ability to even have a modicum of power.
After the Supreme Court weakened the Voting Rights Act this week, Senator Marsha Blackburn urged Tennessee lawmakers to call a special session and redistrict another Republican seat in Memphis. President Trump on Truth Social urged Governor Bill Lee to eliminate the state's only majority black and Democratic congressional district and give us one extra seat in Congress.
We are not going to yield our ability to serve in the United States Congress because of tweets, because of threats, even because of a special session. I'm in the Tennessee House of Representatives, and if there's a special session, I'll be here with hundreds of people with me demanding that we do not support racist maps, but rather that we continue to keep the districts that we have.
A special session would have to happen fast. Ballots are already set for primary races in August. Changing Memphis's district would require changes to districts across the entire state. Do you think it's realistic?
I mean, I think it is possible, and I think it's dangerous and sets a horribly dangerous precedent if they move forward in this direction.
Pearson surprised many by challenging longtime Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen in the Democratic primary to represent Memphis. The New York Times and others have framed the race as a generational battle. Cohen is 76, Pearson is 31.
I'm not running against a person, I'm running against a problem. And the problem is a status quo that is broken.
Cohen has said Pearson is good at getting attention, but not at getting bills passed. It promises to be a bruising primary, unless lawmakers abolish their congressional district.
Now, to be fair, defenders of the Virginia ruling say this is not about suppressing voters. They say it's about following constitutional procedure. And in Tennessee and elsewhere, Republican lawmakers argue they are doing what both parties have long done, drawing maps with partisan advantage in mind. That matters because if this video only presents outrage and not the legal or political defense, it misses the full story. But here is the problem for those defending the process. When rules are enforced one way in states where voters approve a map, and entirely different norms seem to apply where legislatures act alone, The public sees not neutrality, but asymmetry. That perception is part of the crisis. In a democracy, people have to believe the rules are fair even when they lose. Right now, that belief is breaking down. This is why the story matters beyond party politics. Redistricting fights are often presented as insider baseball, technical, procedural, impossible to care about unless you live in the district being redrawn. But the people fighting this say the stakes are much larger. If courts can void voter-approved remedies while legislatures rush through aggressive partisan maps elsewhere, then Americans are no longer just debating where lines belong. They are debating whether the system treats some voters as negotiable. And once citizens begin to believe that ballots count differently depending on the state, the court, or the race of the community being redrawn, trust in democracy doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes, quietly, legally, one map at a time. The easiest way to talk about redistricting is to reduce it to a partisan chess match. Democrats gain here, Republicans gain there, but that framing is too small for what's happening now. Because when people watch a court throw out a vote in Virginia, or see lawmakers carve up a historic black district in Tennessee, they are not just watching strategy. They are watching the rules of representation being rewritten in real time. The question this story leaves behind is brutally simple. In America, do voters still choose their politicians? Or are politicians becoming more skilled at choosing their voters? The answer won't come from one court ruling, one protest, or one map. It will come from whether citizens, judges, lawmakers, and the press are willing to treat these fights not as side stories, but as the front line of democracy itself.